Anytime you can find a product that helps you in the clinical setting manage your patients better, you gotta consider it, right? We have lots of challenges in the dental setting being able to meet the needs of our patients, and they all show up with different levels of anxiety, stress, concern, fear, past history kind of stuff. In this episode, I talk with Marna Pacheco, and she is just fantastic. I love her story. She's going to share her story with you. She is the owner of CapeAble Smartweight technology products. And I used some of her products in the clinical setting, and now I'm just absolutely hooked on how these have worked to really help patients just kind of calm themselves when they're sitting in the operatory. And to me, it was like a really simple addition. You guys know just how stressful it is for us, never mind our patients, but our time constraints. So we want things that are easy to implement, that are easy to disinfect, that are easy to reuse, that are cost effective, that are just simple to add. I'm all about simple. So simple and effective. So I was just so excited to sit down with Marna, learn her story, find out about her product, and then use it and see if it was all that it promised to be. And I was really surprised and delighted to actually use it in the clinical setting. So in this episode, we're going to talk about her story, her origin story, some of the studies that are being conducted with her products, what her products are, what they provide, what I experienced, and then how you can think about implementing the use of these products for yourself with your patients. So if that's something that interests you and you want to know more about this SmartWeight technology and how it really helps reduce the stress of our patients, then go ahead and take a listen. Hey everyone, welcome to the Happy Flosser podcast. My name is Billy Lunt. I am your host, and I am here to talk to you about all things dental hygiene to support you on your journey through the dental hygiene program. Welcome, so glad to have you. Hey, are you in dental hygiene school or just got your acceptance letter and just started dental hygiene school and you're worried about how you're going to fit it all in, what the evaluations are like, what the key strategies you need to set up in order to be successful? You don't want to have worked all this time to get accepted into dental hygiene school only to make some pretty major errors in your first and second semester. I've put together a course that will really help you set yourself straight right out of the gate and get yourself started on the right foot in dental hygiene school. Whether or not you're just entering school or you've done your prerequisites and you're just well on your way halfway through, this course is designed to help get you straight and keep you straight so that you can become a dental hygienist. Click the link in the show notes and check it out. So I'm so excited today to have Marna Pacheco, who is the founder of CapeAble Weighted Products, and she is the inventor of Smartweight technology. And you guys are going to be so excited to hear that she's created something that we can actually use in the dental setting because it's medical grade products. And I know that you guys are going to be excited to hear about what Marna has been up to and is doing. I was so delighted to get to meet her and know her. And the more I learn about Marna, the more I want to know about Marna. So, Marna, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure and it's been such a joy meeting you. Love what you do. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm just excited to share with the students, all the different things that are out there. They're enrolled in a dental hygiene program, and I always feel like there's just not enough time to share with them all the things that people are doing out in the world. And when I came across what you're doing, we all talk about dental anxiety and fear of going to the dentist, and we do touch on that in the curriculum with our students. So I just feel like this is a good marriage for
Yes,
you to jump in. So could you share with our students just kind of your story? And can I just start by saying I love in your pamphlet it says life is beautiful and hard and messy.
yes,
I think that speaks to dental hygiene students right out of the gate. So if you can share kind of your story and how things came about, and then what you have to offer for in the dental setting.
correct. Thank you. Well, even as a child, I had a bad set of teeth, if you will. And we came from humble means, if you will. And so it also was a family filled with a lot of trauma. And so there wasn't regular dental appointments or things like that. But I remember in school, definitely, my teeth were very crooked and very, made fun of. And it was something that was very conscious to me, but didn't necessarily have regular dental care until high school when I was able to go in. And then it was, yes, we need braces and all of that. And that was really my first beginnings of understanding dental care for me personally. And it always felt like I was going with the emergency. Oh, there's a tooth that hurts, or oh, you've got to get your teeth fixed. And so I just remember always feeling really scared to go to the dentist, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But really, where things took a turn is where our family adopted a little girl over 2 years of age from an orphanage from another country, so an international adoption. And her name is Millie, and Millie has a cleft lip and a cleft palate. And so that right there went into dental care, right? And so forth. And so she actually inspired me to look at weighted therapy through her occupational therapist that said, why don't you look at weighted therapy? And what I saw online just really didn't make me super happy. That's kind of the short story. But basically, from there, I kept, once we designed CapeAble and then the Smartweight technology, I was like, okay, we've got to make this medical grade. We've got to be able to put this into the medical community. And of course, the very first thing medically that came up was dental. And how could I make it comfortable for her to be in that dental chair in a vulnerable position when she has medical trauma that is surrounding her lip and her palate and all of that happened to her. And so it really just became a need to help calm her nervous system. And that then propelled me to understand a little bit more about my own journey with dental care and how if you don't start early, then like me, older, going into that chair, you feel like you're going there for an emergency. So what kind of tools could we offer to make that a really, really comfortable, safe place for that patient to be when they're sitting in that chair with the necessary work that needs to be done around the teeth and in the mouth. So that's the short story.
Oh, I love your story. And usually great products and ideas come out of those types of stories, right?
Yes,
Especially when there's a mom who has a
yes,
child with a need.
right
I feel
there.
like some of the best things come from that. So I want you to share your SmartWeight technology, your patent, because
Right.
and I'm going to admit I was biased myself. When I hear the word weighted blanket, I think we all have an opinion of a weighted
Yes,
blanket. So for you
correct.
to share, because there's a distinct difference. When I received your smart weighted technology in the mail and I tried it with patients, I was floored at the difference. So if you can explain what you patent, what you created, and how it's different and unique.
Right. Well, so part of the story of creating weighted products and why we're called CapeAble is I actually created a cape for my daughter to wear out and about. And that propelled me to really do the research in what we would call sensory processing disorder. Also, how was the weighted product being used and what way? And it just gave me a lot of historic understanding about weighted therapy, where it was used at the beginning. And so a little bit of the background about weighted blankets, if you will, is it was used in the early 70s in the mental health community with pretty extreme behaviors, and they were trying to come up with an alternative to a restraint, which is a good, positive thing. However, when you're focused on those behaviors only and they're extreme and they're big, then they were putting more weight, more weight, more weight. And in the early 80s, autism was being diagnosed as a mental illness, which it is not, but at that time it was. And so, therefore, desperate moms were trying to help their children with autism. And so they were putting these heavy blankets on top of children. And if we're not careful, bad things can happen. And so then when occupational therapists were getting involved because of the sensory issue, Dr. Temple Grandin, who is autistic, an amazing woman, she started talking about deep touch pressure. And in her research of deep touch pressure that were published in the 90s, I read that and some light bulbs kind of went on about what is deep touch pressure. And deep touch pressure isn't necessarily a weighted blanket. And it's not just heavy, 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 but it's actually how that deep touch pressure activates our nerves on our body. And so I like to say that I'm not a rocket scientist by any means at all, but I did pay attention to the details because of my daughter's need. And one of the needs was that she didn't need just a blanket, because when she stood up, the blanket fell down at her feet. And I'm like, I need her to be able to have a regulated nervous system, a tool, something that we could use that could make that surround that deep touch pressure in a safe and a very comforting way. And then the extended research I did was with the polyvagal theory and with Dr. Stephen Porges, understanding what trauma does to the brain, because my daughter does come from early childhood trauma. And so when all of those factors came together, what was the most important is what Dr. Temple Grandin said in her documents about deep touch pressure and that squeeze machine that she created. And that squeeze machine wasn't just pressure here and there. It was actually where you lay down in it with a kind of like a cushion underneath and on top, and it actually could blow up. So you could add the pressure, and you would, the person going into that lay down squeeze machine, if you will, would be able to control the amount of deep touch pressure. And the synopsis was that deep touch pressure needed to conform to any body shape that went into that squeeze machine. It needed to compress evenly and gently. We don't need to smack the nerve. But then it also had to get to the third layer of the nerve receptor, which is where that deep touch pressure goes, to get that signal to send to the brain so it's pleasing and comforting, like a safe hug. And it needs to stay constantly in contact with more nerves. And the result of that was that we could create a safer, effective weighted therapy with a 2-inch grid, and then also determining how much weight could go every 2 inches, depending on the need of the patient or the person using the product. And ultimately, what it came down to is we could use less weight more effectively by activating more nerves with that 2-inch grid and being very precise about how much weight is equally within that 2-inch grid. And so that is what became the patent, and what we are able to incorporate into 2 different fabric applications: the soft plush machine wash, tumble dry, one-piece construction, because it had to have the mom factor. Machine wash, tumble dry, easy to care, easy to use, easy to wear. And then also put it within the medical grade fabric, where it could just be wiped clean and go from patient to patient to patient. And the very first medical grade weighted product that I made was for the dental chair. And what we found is that within the dental industry, it was the lead apron. Everyone loved it because it was heavy, but then they were like, can you keep that on? But then it was in the x-ray machine or wherever that is. And then it's cold in the office, is very cold, and that makes sense. But it was like, okay, do they want it to be the medical grade, or do they want it to be the soft plush? Because dental offices do have machine wash and dryers in their office. But the convenience of the medical grade is that it can go into warming ovens, but it also can just be wiped clean. And it is so comforting for the patients in the chair. And so the design and the measurements of that is, you don't need to have it be super large or or big or whatever in dimensions, and you don't want it really hanging over the patient where it's like kind of restraining them from movement. We want that freedom of movement. So we just specifically have a thinner weighted blanket that is a nice length, and it can be for, all ages basically, because it's a safe 2-inch grid where it evenly distributes that weight for the patient. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I just want to share that, and I'm like so excited to share. So I took the medical grade, the one that was disinfectable, and I said, I'm going to go out in the real world and see how this
Yeah.
applies to my patients. And I have to tell you, so a couple of patients, I would say, I'm going to just put a weighted blanket on you. And then I completely changed my language because
Yes.
they had their own bias about the weighted
Yes.
blanket, right?
Good.
So I
Good.
changed it to, I'm going to put a comfort shield on you to
Perfect. Oh my
protect you
goodness,
from,
that's perfection.
I said to
Yes.
protect you from the dental things that are
Yeah.
all of the dental juju that's around us.
Right. Right.
And I got to tell you, it is, even the one that's disinfectable, that's not necessarily the plushy,
Right.
soft.
Right.
It gives, I think their own body heat is warm.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
very comforting to the
Yes.
patient. It wasn't too heavy. They
Right.
absolutely loved it. I got such great feedback from it.
Yay.
Yeah, and I just was like not shocked because for years you'd put the lead apron on the patient, and when you
Right.
take it off, they would say, "Oh, that was kind of nice. I like
Right.
that." But this gives you just that one more tool to really help those anxious patients, which I gotta say is most of the people that come
Yes.
into
Yes. Yes.
our offertory. Uh, I put it on everyone. I didn't
Yes.
just use
Right.
it on one patient that was, labeled as
Beautiful.
anxious. I
Beautiful.
just made it part of my routine, and it was
Exactly.
wonderful. It was wonderful. They just
Well,
all loved
I,
it. I would wait till the end of the appointment and say, "What did you think of your comfort shield?" And
yes.
they didn't want to give it back to me.
Oh, I find what you're saying is so valuable, because as I've been presenting to different dental offices individually, or some of the lunch and learns, or even I'll be going to the RDH under one roof. I'll be at the conference in Denver this year, and I can't wait to share more. But the biggest thing was, what are the best practices and what do we say? And you just hit it out of the ballpark, because you're right. We all have our own biases about weight, because historically, most people thought the heavier, the better. And it really isn't. That's actually gives us an adverse effect. It does make us feel restrained and restricted. And you're already in a vulnerable position anyway as you're laying down. And then someone is putting instruments in your mouth and you're hearing the sounds, and you might have some experiences in the past that weren't positive. And so all of those mixed together really do create this angst. And so when you put that blanket on, it forces you in the most gentlest way to breathe and feel comforted and hugged in a safe, positive way. And that is exactly what I wanted my daughter, who comes from abuse, neglect, and all of that, to feel for her. And then what I wanted for us as caregivers, and then those professions that are needing to really help those vulnerable nervous systems that we have now since realized, even more so since COVID, how vulnerable and heightened we are in this. And so if it is touching your nerves in the best way possible, more nerves, then I'm like, that's awesome. We're so excited about that Smartweight technology really delivering true patient comfort and care.
Yeah, I absolutely loved the results of it. So just no one's ever going to deny a hygienist saying, "I'm just going to grab my comfort shield for you." No.
Right there, right there. And in fact, I often tell people, I tell the dental hygienist, don't say, well, I want to put this heavy weighted blanket on you, right? So that's why when you said comfort shield, such a beautiful description. And I think that should be what it's called, because the reality is, right away, when we think of the word heavy versus light, if you
Mhm.
said, I'm going to put this light blanket on you, or this heavy blanket on you, or weighted or weightless, um, it our mind goes there right away. And by the way, I believe I heard that a lot of the lead aprons are now have new technology where they're making them lighter.
Yes.
And that's great for if it's protecting the patient more for what it's supposed to be used for. But if we can use weighted therapy in a safe and effective way, then you're going to get that positive results doing deep touch pressure precisely and right. And it's not just heavy, heavy, heavy. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just love what you're doing for our anxious patients and actually all of our patients, because whether you are an anxious patient or not, having that one added little step to your appointment that just brings you, into a nice restful zone, that's good for everyone. That's good for the hygienist or the
Right.
provider, the dentist, and it's good for the patient. And to me, when I brought it into the office and I was like, "Oh my gosh, why have I not always had this?" So thank you so much, Marna.
Oh, thank you. It's so interesting because I had to have a bunch of work done on my mouth last year with some crowns. And again, I didn't go to the dentist regularly, which, I've learned a lot. But so I had to have a lot of work and I knew it was going to be somewhat painful or felt painful in my past. And it had been 18 years since I had been to the dentist. So that just tells you anything, 18 plus years. That's what happens when you're the mom of a special needs daughter and you're also running a business and creating a manufacturer and you're doing all the things. But went into that work and I decided to bring my blanket in literally for me and the medical blanket. I sleep with my weighted blanket every single night. It's so helpful. And we have wraps and we have wearables and we have other different products. So it was really helpful. But it was a night and day different experience for me as the patient. I was so I kind of was like in that daze of, oh, I created this. Oh, wait, wow, this really works. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And it was such a positive experience for me. Um, I now every time I go back, I've got Invisalign on, and so I got the little. So every time I'm going back and just now regularly caring for my teeth and doing what I should have been doing for years, I do not hesitate to put that blanket on and ask for it on their comfort menu that they have, and so I use it every single time I go to the dentist, and I'm going quite regularly now, so, which is the good
Well,
news.
you have something good when it's easy and
Yeah,
it's effective and it can be
right there.
easily implemented, because as a hygienist, we're going 100 miles an hour all the time.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
so to just easily fit something like this into what we're already doing, I was just so excited about it and really pleased with some of the feedback from the
Good.
patients. So I'm really happy that you've taken the time to come on and share this with the listeners and the students out there that are, I've already had students asking for the weighted
Good.
blanket and the comfort
Good.
shield for their patient,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
that they can experience it while they're in school. And
Good.
so how would somebody go about reaching out to you or getting a hold of you for some of this information? I'm glad to hear you're going to be at Under One Roof
I
sharing this. It's awesome.
You shared that with me, which I'm so excited. So thank you. And I did the follow through, so it was so exciting. And we were actually there was an article in February of 2020 that was published about our weighted products at that time, and that was our going to be our year introducing them. And then of course COVID and the world shut down, and so everything happened. So this is kind of just a reintroduction to our dental medical grade products. So we do have a dental blanket size that we call it the dental chair size. I do recommend that one because you can fold it over and put a little extra weight on the legs if someone gets nervous and they're moving their legs. The other thing I love is that it can just fold down at the top, and even if you've got the napkin on and splatters happen, you can just wipe it really easily clean, which is wonderful with the Kavi wipes and everything. But then we do have a smaller size. We call that the small blanket. And sometimes those that might have offices that are specializing with children, they like that size a little bit better, and that's fine. And then we have a large lap pad, which I do recommend because it's smaller in dimensions, and it can just be across the chest or on the tummy, or it can be vertical or horizontal, depending on what the patient might like. And then the magnetic focus fidget, which is a surprise to a lot of people, but it helps that anxiousness in a different way. It's the combination of the deep touch pressure of our Smartweight technology and the hands having something to do. And it also keeps children from grabbing instruments as well. And it's just our magnetic focus fidget, whether it's the personal soft plush kind, it is machine wash, tumble dry, or the medical grade. They use it in peds or in geriatrics, and then of course in the dentistry. Those are the 3 to 4 different products I recommend. They can go to CapeAble.com. CapeAble is spelled wrong because it started with a cape, and so it's spelled CapeAble. Autocorrect sometimes changes things, but CapeAble.com. And then you can see our personal line, see a little bit, you'll see Millie and myself on the website, and other family and friends who were cheap taking pictures. And then our CapeAble Care medical grade line, and you'll see the dental blanket there in that. And we ship free. We also take POs depending on if they're for larger orders. We just got back from the global surgical conference in Nashville. It was quite wonderful because the medical community is doing controlled IRB studies with our products, and it is proving to lower anxiety with those patients. And it's been pretty outstanding. And I just can't wait for the dental community to embrace this, a new way of doing weighted therapy, a safer way, a more comforting way to really, really help their patients who they are serving. The other thing that I love is that students learning this early on, they get to gather these beautiful tools early on for their toolkit as their career and their profession goes on. I just think that's a wonderful thing too. But CapeAble.com or my email, reach out to me, Marna@CapeAble.com. And sometimes Marna looks like mama when it's texted out. It's actually MARNA@CapeAble.com. You can email me. You can find us on LinkedIn, the CapeAble weighted products, as well as my personal page, Marna Pacheco. You're welcome to do both. And then Facebook and as well as Instagram. So
yeah, Marna, thank you for bringing up the fidgets, because the little ones, when they are in your chair and you're waiting for a doctor exam, or waiting for a professor to come over, it just seems like 10 minutes it comes across one way for a grown-up. 10 minutes is a completely different world for a young child sitting in the chair waiting for whatever it is that's happening. And I find that you're right. The fidget keeps their hands busy and away from your instruments, away from what you're doing. And it just is it's a great distraction. And I like that the ones that you sent me to try out, that they're washable, right? That it's an easy peasy thing to add right into your operatory. Just when you need it, you can just hand it right over to the kiddo. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I forgot to mention that is another great tool that you're providing us. You're just full of really wonderful things for the dental profession. I love it.
Well, for the students, how about if they put the lap pad on their laps, take the fidget while they're doing their test, or like especially paperwork or studying. So, I mean, I've been told here by our local IU dentistry, which is Indiana University, and then where we're at in Fort Wayne, Northern Indiana, there's another one as well, connected. But they've been talking about, the exams are coming up and they're really nervous, and they're using the products for that too. So we want them to use it on themselves and help them, and then also for the patients.
Yeah, that's really so great. Well, thank you for your time, and thank you for coming on. I just love what you're doing. I'm so excited to say that I'm going to see you under one roof.
I'm just excited for the continuation. Please, I just feel like I found a new best friend. So I'm so excited.
Oh, Marna, you're
meeting you.
Very kind. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I would invite you to send me any questions that you need answered. Questions come up when you listen to this podcast. I have a link in the show notes, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Also, I would appreciate a review if you have time to leave one. Thank you so much.